today's topic is basically the trends in India's growth rate. In the past few years, right? So basically, the idea is that GDP has been or has become a very important number in the past few years. Every year, whenever GDP numbers are released, the government comes out with a lot of fanfare. Government pats its own back. Let's see what great numbers we have come up. This is what has been the trend since the past 5, 6, 7 years. But recently, when we have seen that the GDP numbers have started to go down, and for a number of reasons, including some policy reasons as well, the discussion about GDP has gone at the backstage, and the government has started saying that eventually GDP number will not matter as much. We have to see other things. But government also knows that they are saying this because the GDP numbers are going down for the past couple of years, and a lot of it can be associated with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. But is that the truth? You will see or read in the media that the slowdown that is going on right now primarily because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent lockdown that happened in the country. But to what extent is this true? Or was there slowdown in the country before the pandemic set in also? And if yes, then what has been the reasons? Situation, right? There was a lot of hue and cry from the opposition side as well, and a lot of economists as well, that India is the worst performing country as far as the GDP contraction is concerned last year when the lockdown happened. Last year, that is in 2020, in April to June quarter. Just Q1, when the country's GDP shrank by 23.9%. This has been updated actually later to 24.1% also. There are various numbers that you can see. India was the worst performing country. After this was Spain, which contracted by around 22%. Spain's economy is not doing well anyway, so comparing with Spain is not a very correct comparison sorts. Okay. So this number to for a lot of investigation, a lot of issues the country was facing before the lockdown. Right? That is why this discussion becomes important. And from here, how to go out, how to get out of the situation, and what needs to be done from the government side. India actually starts to do soon. Right? That is the whole idea behind this discussion. Meanwhile, before I start, if you guys have any basic doubt about GDP and all, or inflation, what is inflation, please let me know. The terms that we are going to use in this is mostly GDP at market price and inflation, in which we talk about CPI, WPI, and CPI. Okay. And since it is a short discussion, there won't be much time to get into the minute details of these or to start with the basics. So it is assumed that you know to some extent about these particular things. I will definitely explain to a certain extent. Don't worry about it. You will not feel alien to this discussion. Then we'll also talk about private consumption. Capital formation. Government consumption. Okay. These are the things that we are going to do. Now, what is GDP? What is GDP really? What does it measure? That it is such an important number. When it was started to use in the early 1930s, it was considered to be a number or a statistic that will kill all of the statistics. It was that important. So GDP exactly होता क्या? What is GDP? पहले तो ये समझ लेते हैं. GDP full form, as we all know, it's gross domestic product. In continuation with the last discussion, that if you understand English, basic English, you understand 60% of the economics as such. Gross का मतलब क्या होता है? Total domestic the territory. घर में क्या है आपके? India is our home, right? So it is a territory. And product, all the product that we are making, goods as well as services. Basic English. अगर आप इंग्लिश के टर्म समझते हैं तो आप समझ जाएंगे. So total goods and services that are produced in the territory of the country, if we add all of them together, that becomes the GDP of the country. Simple as that. और add कैसे करेंगे? We cannot come out and say कि okay, India has made 1 billion cars, 10 million scooters, 300 million tons of grains, etc., etc. It will be very challenging to list down all the articles or services that are produced in the country. So we take a very simple number, we take the money value, which is common among everything, right? And add that together. So it is a money value. All the goods and services produced within the territory of the country. What is on a money value based on that, we can give one number. Last year, this number was around 203 lakh crores. Right? 2019-20. That means India produced things worth 203 lakh crores. All the things, good as well as services. Now it does not matter if they sold everything or not. GDP talks about what is produced and what is not, and not what is sold. I hope this part is also clear, right? बेचना और बनाना दो अलग-अलग चीजें हैं. बेचा या नहीं बेचा उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, कितना बनाया उससे फर्क पड़ता है. That becomes our GDP. ठीक है? That is the output. So it basically also measures the total output of the country. Right? इसमें सर्विसेज भी हर तरह की ऐड हो जाती हैं. हॉस्पिटैलिटी सर्विस, आप घूमने जा रहे हैं, टूरिज्म वगैरह एंड ऑल दैट. मेडिकल सर्विसेज, द फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, बैंकिंग सर्विस वगैरह जो आप करते हैं, आईटी सर्विसेज, राइट? एनी एंड एवरी सर्विस दैट यू कैन थिंक ऑफ इज पार्ट along with the products. ठीक है? So 2019-20 में we had 103 lakh crores of GDP, and we aim to become a $5 trillion economy. $5 trillion economy by 2024. ये हमारा aim था, which will not be achieved now, unfortunately, because of the corona pandemic persisting for 2 years, and there is a possibility to go next year. पता नहीं कितना रिलीफ देगा हमें. तो इस लाख करोड़ को भी अगर आप कन्वर्ट करेंगे, this will come somewhere around $2.9 trillion. ठीक है? So from $2.9 trillion to $5 trillion, we were hoping to jump in the next 4-5 years. But अब थोड़ा सा difficult लगता है, because for this the growth rate will have to be around 17-18% on over the next 4 years consistently. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि एक साल भी कम हो. And that is not possible. India has never seen that kind of a growth. In fact, the world economies have not really seen that kind of growth. Individual countries keep faster. Right? The maximum India has seen is around 10%, 9.8%. Back in the days 2004 से 2009 के बीच में, when India's economy was actually booming, right? 1991 में जो LPG reforms हुए, उनका जो impact आया, that impact came after a few years. एकदम से नहीं होता. If there is a policy change, right, the impact will not start to show next year. It will take some time. So the high growth phase between 2002-3, in fact, 2008-9, that was an actual result of the policy changes that were done 10 years ago in 1991. Right? उसका impact कब आया? That is the whole thing. So उसके बाद से India has not seen a very high growth. Not this high growth. 8% थोड़ा बहुत हमने achieve किया है एक दो बार. And what is happening today? I hope ये basic idea clear हो गया. इस पे हम दोबारा आएंगे. GDP क्या है? Then we'll talk about it one more time. So basically, whenever GDP is growing, that would mean that our output is growing. We are producing more things, goods and services. And when GDP is not growing or it is contracting, that means our output has come down. So when you think about this, it is very easy to relate now that during the lockdown period in 2020, all the factories were shut down for 68 days. All the factories were shut down for 68 days. All the offices were shut down, the hotels were shut down, airline services were shut down, everything was shut down for 68 days. India faced one of the strictest lockdown in the world last year, right? Because of which there was obviously there will be a decline in output. जब factory बंद है, nobody is going to produce anything, and if they are not producing, so there is no output as such. तो अगर output नहीं है, तो obviously decline होगा. Now that is not to say to the output नहीं था, essential services were going on. So while there was a decline, the decline was of this number in that particular 3 months, right? 68 days का जो लॉकडाउन था, ये इससे coincide करता है अप्रैल मई जून से, ठीक है? तो जब आउटपुट कम हो गया, इसलिए ग्रोथ भी आपकी कम हो गई. आई थिंक ये रिलेटेबल है now. Now it is expected. Abhi yesterday expectations came out, and today the actual number is going to come out in the evening. So this class is actually scheduled at a very good time. शाम को जब आपको न्यूज़ मिलेगी या कल सुबह आप न्यूज़पेपर में जीडीपी डेटा पढ़ेंगे, you will be able to relate and you will be able to understand the article completely after this class today. So it is expected in 2020 and 21, India GDP or India's output is going to contract by 8%. Approximately. SBI कहता है, थोड़ा सा रिवाइज कर दिया SBI ने, 8 नहीं -7.5% होगा. And RBI कहता है around -7.3% होगा. Everybody come out with its own estimate. जो NSO डेटा निकालेगा, CSO NSO, that will come out at 5 PM today on 31st of May. So if you go to the PIB website in the evening around 5 and go to the releases, the PIB website, you will find this document, a PDF document, which will be something like this. This is from Feb. The front page will look something like this, and in that you will be able to see what are the GDP, what is the expected GDP last year, 2020-21 exactly, and कहाँ क्या कमियां रही. अभी हम आगे बात करेंगे, वो कमियां आपको समझ रहे हैं, right? So GDP is going to contract by 7.5 or 8%. What does that mean? That if in 2019-20, the GDP was कितना 203 lakh crores, कितना आउटपुट था? तो अगर contraction हुआ है 2020 में, will the number go up or down? The number will go down. So this will come down once again instead of going up to around 193 lakh. ठीक है, 195, sorry, 195 lakh crores. So the economy has actually contracted. And when was the last time that the economy contracted? Economy contracted last time in 1980. So this is the worst phase that is going on for Indian economy in 4 decades. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया पहले कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं हुआ. India has contracted 4 times. This is the 5th contraction that India will see. Right? कौन से हैं वो 4 साल तब इंडिया ने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया, उसका रीजन क्या है? This topic becomes slightly important for me this year, so थोड़ा background भी पता होना important है. That is why I am going into this background. So the 4 years that was there, जिसमें contraction हुआ है इंडिया में, yeah. So one is 1958, then next was 1966, then was 1973, and then was 1980, और अब 2021. Okay, that's the idea. So the point is that even in these years, when India saw the contraction, India did not see a contraction as deep as -8%. पूरे साल का है, ये एक क्वार्टर का. I hope ये सब क्लियर है आपको. One year, एक फाइनेंशियल ईयर में, one financial year is divided into 4 quarters. Q1, Q2, Q3. This starts from April to June. This is from July to September. This is October to December, and this is January to March. ठीक है? I hope this is clear. अगर इसमें कोई डाउट था Q1 क्या है, ठीक है? So the contraction that happened in the past, ये था -1.2%. This was -3.1%. Then -3.6, sorry. this was minus 0.32%, and in 1980 it was minus 5.2%. ठीक है, और अभी क्या कितना हो रहा है, minus 8%. So this is the worst phase that Indian economy is seeing in the past 4 decades. And even if we see by the contraction that was going on, this contraction is the worst contraction since independence. ठीक है, although फर्क भी है, impact ज़्यादा इसलिए भी है because our economy has become big, so even थोड़ा सा नंबर चेंज होता है तो काफी बड़ा impact दिखता है as such. So from 2.7 lakh crores in 1947 output, हमारी GDP 200 lakh crores तक पहुंच गई है. So we have made a good leap in the past 70 years, but we could have done better also because of our policy paralysis and all that. Most of नहीं जाएंगे, but growth has not been as forthcoming as we were expecting. For the first 50 years, right, 1947 से 40 years, 1947 से 1991 तक, our average growth rate has been 4%. जिसको Hindu rate of growth बोलते हैं कुछ economists. The kind of government that was there, right? उसके बेसिस पे एक सटायर करते हुए उन्होंने बोला कि इंडिया का ग्रोथ रेट जो है वो 2% कहलाना चाहिए, और गवर्नमेंट इस तरह से चलती है हमारा. ठीक है, तो उसके बाद से आफ्टर 1991 वी सॉ द इंप्रूवमेंट. सब डिटेल में हम आगे बात करेंगे. तो रीजंस क्या थे इन स्लोडाउन के, और फिर 2021 की क्या रीजन था, ये समझना थोड़ा जरूरी हो जाता है. 1958 was the year when India saw very weak monsoon. Alright, we had to heavily import the food. खाना खाने के लिए हमारे पास खाना नहीं बचा था. So this is where US used to send us food aid. जो PL 480 प्रोग्राम था, जिसमें वो बहुत खराब खाना हमें भेजता था क्योंकि हम गरीब लोग थे. It did not go down well with our government. हमें अच्छा नहीं लगा, नेहरू जी को अच्छा नहीं लगा, लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी को अच्छा नहीं लगा. They decided किया अब कुछ करना पड़ेगा. Then we also ये सब झेलने के बाद we came out with green revolution in the next 5-6 years. सब कनेक्टेड है. तो यहाँ पे अगर आप देखेंगे सेकंड, यहाँ पे रीजन क्या था, यहाँ पे रीजन था 1962 में एक तो चाइना से वॉर हो चुका था. In 1965 में पाकिस्तान से वॉर हुआ था. So we were already recuperating, we were recovering, we were trying to recover. And then back to back 2 years, severe drought आया, जिसकी वजह से output fell further, food output. We were once again dependent on US food aid. So ये जो 7-8 साल थे बहुत difficult थे हमारे लिए. This is why green revolution came into place after this, that we have to be self-dependent or independent as far as food is concerned. No country can become a big country, or no country can become a world power if they have to depend on somebody else for their food. मन करेगा बंद कर देंगे खाना भेजना तो हम लोग will starve. So how can we be a world power, world superpower? So severe droughts India में आते रहते हैं. We are heavily monsoon dependent. अगर monsoon खराब हो जाता है, output कम हो जाता है. In the 50s and 60s, other outputs were not as much. Manufacturing इतना नहीं था हमारे, services sector इतना strong नहीं था. So we were primarily dependent on agricultural output only. So if that used to get hampered, our GDP used to contract. This was the reason. ठीक है. 1973 में क्या हुआ? 1973 में the OPEC oil shock. OPEC कंट्रीज ने मिलके एक ऑयल एम्बार्गो लगा दिया, wherein the oil prices shot up 400 times, 400% basically. $3 per barrel से this became $12 per barrel. ठीक है, 400% हमारा ऑयल बढ़ गया, जिसकी वजह से our import bill increased big time, and we had to face a severe inflation also. Imported inflation उसको बोलते हैं, क्योंकि ऑयल महंगा होता है, so हर चीज महंगी हो जाती है. फैक्ट्री चलाना महंगा, ट्रैक्टर चलाना महंगा, पंप एग्रीकल्चर पंप चलाना महंगा, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेट करना महंगा, and transporting everything also becomes expensive. So this leads to increase in prices of everything. So petroleum is very important for India. Unfortunately, petroleum, we do not have any control on the petroleum prices also. So अगर पेट्रोल का प्राइस मार्केट में बढ़ जाता है, we have to face the heat of that. This is called imported inflation क्योंकि हम पेट्रोल इंपोर्ट करते हैं. And economic survey has also said that petroleum prices or crude prices has been one of the most important macroeconomic vulnerability for India. Most important macroeconomic vulnerability for India. मतलब the moment petrol prices go up, crude prices go up, everything go haywire in the country because we are heavily dependent on petrol imports and we cannot control this at all. So जैसे अभी first 3 years of this present government, 2014, 15, 16, the crude has been very kind and petroleum prices were hovering between $40 and $50. And now once again it is hardening and it has come up to $70. उसका हम देख ही रहे हैं क्या हो रहा है. We are paying almost 100 rupees a liter in our country now. Fuel it was around 70 rupees only 2.5 years. इतना ज़्यादा massive jump हो गया है अचानक से. So this will naturally increase the prices of everything else in the coming future. हर चीज महंगी हो जाएगी. Again the ticket prices अगर आप travel करने जा रहे हैं तो महंगा हो जाएगा, right? The taxi will become expensive. The trucks that transport all the products from across the country that will become expensive. Per liter cost बढ़ जाएगी उनकी, right? अगर 1 लीटर 30 रुपए बढ़ रहा है और 1 किलोमीटर में हम 1 लीटर में हम 3 किलोमीटर चल पाते हैं ट्रक में, तो per kilometer 10 rupees cost बढ़ गई है ट्रक वाले. So if he has to transport something for 1,000 kilometer, मान लीजिए 1500 kilometer बॉम्बे से लेके दिल्ली, तो 15,000 rupees उसका प्राइस बढ़ जाएगा ऑटोमेटिकली. फिर वो ऑफिस जाने के भी पैसे लेगा, another 15,000 rupees. So per trip 30,000 rupees का कॉस्ट तो ट्रक वाले का ही बढ़ गया. That would mean that 30,000 will have to be adjusted in the product cost only. वो अपनी जेब से देगा नहीं कोई भी. Neither the company will give from its own pocket, nor the truck guy will give from its own pocket, right? That price increase will lead to increase in general price rise in the country also. हर जगह महंगाई बढ़ने वाली है अभी. Already हमारे पास पैसा नहीं है क्योंकि जॉब्स चली गई हैं क्यों ये लॉकडाउन वगैरह की वजह से. So this will be a double whammy. ये धीरे-धीरे भी हम build करेंगे ये बात. ठीक है. So 1973 में ऑयल शॉक हुआ जिसकी वजह से कॉन्ट्रैक्शन हुआ हमारा और बीओपी क्राइसिस आया. We had to import a lot of things and inflation was high. We could not produce other things as much. Contraction हो गया. 1980 once again there was a second oil shock. Right. And ये second oil shock क्यों था? ये ईरान रेवोल्यूशन की वजह से था. थोड़ा हिस्ट्री पता होना चाहिए हमें. इराक और ईरान में चल रहे थे. ईरान में रेवोल्यूशन चल रहा था. So because of which the output took a hit on crude oil output and the prices got increased once again. So हर बार if you have seen in the past 4 recessions or past 4 contraction of the economy, right? The reason has been not in our control. Is that the case this time also? क्या हम सिर्फ COVID-19 को blame कर सकते हैं? It is only because of COVID-19, as the government said that our chief economic advisor said that whatever is happening today is happening because of exogenous factor, as in the factors which are out of government's control. And the finance minister said it is an act of God, because of which our economic growth has stagnant. हमने कुछ नहीं किया, है ना? So हमने कुछ नहीं किया, but it is an act of God that has led to what has happened today. Yeah, is that true? This is what this class is about. This is what we are here to analyze. If this is actually true, and if, what are the reasons, and what can be done to solve. ठीक है. ये बेसिक बैकग्राउंड है. ऑयल शॉक हमारे हाथ में नहीं है. फर्स्ट और सेकंड. Severe droughts is not under our control. First weak monsoon again is not under our control. The wars are not under our control. So the first 4 times when India saw a contraction, it was actually exogenous factors and it was not under our control. But the story is not the same this time, right? Any doubt there? So this is the background. थोड़ा सा आगे नोट करना चाहते हैं तो नोट कर लीजिए reasons. 1958, 1966. This will be helpful in your mains answer writing, in your introduction. That India is witnessing its 5th recession, right? And the worst in the past 4 decades, or in fact the worst since. Right? So आप number 1-2 example दे सकते हैं. This will substantiate your answer. You can get a decent score in that answer. So if you want to write down, you can write. ये severe droughts जो 2 आए थे 1966 आए थे back to back. I'm sure you guys will be preparing post independence also. History पढ़ना है आपको exam के लिए. So if you connect things with economics, it will become even more interesting. And if you add Indian society also, paper 1 का part है आपका, that how society functions and what is the impact economically on the societal ideas, the cultural ideas, और interesting लगने लगेगी आपको society भी और Indian economy भी. और history connect करेंगे तो history भी interesting लगेगी. I hope you have written it down. Okay. So this is the background per se. I have used the term recession. I hope you are. I don't know if you are aware of the term recession or not. What exactly is this? Recession is basically at least for 2 consecutive quarters. Okay. The economic growth in that particular quarter remains in the negative territory. जैसे -23% हुआ April to June quarter और उसके बाद -8% हुआ from July to September quarter. That is technically called a recession. Recession is generally associated with a drop in output along with a drop in employment as well, right? Severe employment drop होता है और वो अभी हमने भी witness किया है. And अगर सिर्फ output में drop है, can you say that employment में drop नहीं होगा? ऐसा हो सकता है? Is there a possibility that there is a drop only in output but not in employment? Think about this a little bit. Is there a possibility is that there can be a drop in output but not a drop in employment? It is unlikely, right? Because whenever there will be a drop in output, that would mean that factories will produce less, and if factories are producing less, that would mean factories are making less money. And if they are making less money, they'll have less money to give to people, so they will have to fire people, right? पिछले एक साल में बहुत सारा ऐसा हुआ. अभी आपको आगे इतना कैसे ड्रॉप हुआ है, what do you call it, employment, right? Almost as per the recent report जो अभी last month आई है, in fact इसी month आई है maybe, almost 12 crore people have lost their jobs between April 2020 and April 2021. I am not making these numbers up. क्या ये जो report है, it said that between April 2020 and April 2021, 12.2 crore people have lost their jobs during this transient phase. We had a high employment rate at 40, rate number, 41.5 crore people were employed. इसमें से 90% unorganized sector में थे. Right. And this number came down to 28.8 crores. ये April 2020 का डेटा है. ये सब डेटा नोट कर लीजिए, काम आएगा कहीं भी कोट करने के लिए. और ये April 21 का डेटा है. ये CMI जो है, सेंटर फॉर मॉनिटरिंग ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल थिंग, उसका डेटा होता है ये. And this is the data that is considered to be the right data as such. So employment has come down by 12.2 crore. 12.2 crore. Okay. Now, so when this government, the present government, हम पिछले 5-7 साल की बात करते हैं, उससे पहले 2012-13 में there was a slowdown in the economy when the previous government was there. Between 2008-9 and 2012-13, the economy was doing decently. 2008-9, that was the world economic shock, financial turbulence that happened. And in 2012-13, the reasons for India's slowdown was a lot of, again, the US's Federal Reserve policies, in which they were taking the money out of the system. So all the money that was flowing into India from abroad, that was going out. At the same time, the monsoon was not good during this time. Right? Oil prices were hitting towards $100 territory. In fact, 2014, in May 2014, when the election happened, the crude oil was selling at $115 per barrel. और जैसे ही नई गवर्नमेंट आई, the Modi government got lucky. By December 2014, this fell to $42. Okay, ये क्यों हुआ? This is a separate discussion as such. But there was a decline in output. 2012-13 also, India saw a reduction in economic growth, still in the positive territory. And after that, since 2014, the economic growth has been 8-7% and all that. और उसके बाद जब से हम देख रहे हैं, it is only coming down. Okay, इस साल की उम्मीद है नेगेटिव जाने का. And then the RBI expects this year in 2021-22 we will grow at 10.5. This is the expectation. In 2021-22 we will grow at 10.5. Obviously, this will have to be revised because nobody expected the second wave of COVID-19 will come as this lethal, and we will have to curtail a lot of economic activity time. So this 10.5% जो expectation है 21-22 की growth की वो अभी revised होगी. But before that it is going down only. So India's economy is actually slowing down. Okay, और अभी से ये COVID-19 आया है यहाँ पे. Now you can see that this is the place where COVID-19 struck India. Right? But we have been slowing down since 2017-18. और ऐसा नहीं है कि हम कोई एक बीच में कुछ महीना स्लो डाउन हुए और फिर इम्प्रूव हो गए. नहीं, क्यों नहीं ऐसा? बिकॉज 2018-19 से लगातार ये अगर हम क्वार्टरली ग्रोथ देखें, quarter by quarter we are going down, quarter by quarter, right? And then it went down again. It is going to go up. So quarter by quarter ये -23% यहाँ पे. So it's not the case that it was a transient thing कि हम बीच में एक दो महीना कुछ ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम आ गई. 2018-19 onwards, for the past 8 quarters back, we have been slowing down only. So this clearly shows that it is not only the COVID-19 pandemic, it is actually something else, and the slowdown was set in before the COVID-19 pandemic itself, much before it. 2 साल पहले ही set in हो चुका था, slowdown होना start हो गया. That is the whole thing. अब समझते हैं ये slowdown होने का रीजन क्या है और ये कब से हुआ है. Right. First of all, we have to understand one equation. एक बहुत इंटिमिडेटिंग सी इक्वेशन होती है जीडीपी कैलकुलेशन. एक स्मॉलर आइडिया आई विल गिव यू सो दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड क्विकली, अदरवाइज थोड़ा सा लंबा हो जाएगा डिस्कशन अगर मैं बैठ गया. बेसिकली दिस इज अ कैलकुलेशन ऑफ जीडीपी फ्रॉम कंजम्पशन स्टैंड. जीडीपी हम 3 तरह से कैलकुलेट करते हैं. आई एम अज्यूमिंग ये सब आपने थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ा हुआ है. एक इनकम मेथड से कैलकुलेट करते हैं, एक प्रोडक्ट मेथड से कैलकुलेट और एक कंजम्पशन मेथड से कैलकुलेट. Okay, mostly we see the consumption method in the government's calculation also. Whenever government comes out with data, what हमको भी आएगा, you will see it is based on consumption method only. क्या है ये consumption method? तीनों ही method से obviously since they are calculating the same number, it should come out to be the same. ये आप मान के चलो. If you want to understand this, when you join our classes, I'll in depth go into the details of all these things. कैसे ये same होती है और exactly meaning क्या है. But consumption method से GDP का क्या मतलब है, ये एक बार थोड़ा समझना हमारे बहुत जरूरी है. What is happening basically? I said that GDP is everything that is produced in an economy, right? Everything produced in the economy. A brief idea. Now, if everything is produced, जाहिर सी बात है that a lot of things will be sold also, and there will be certain things that will not be sold. So, if things are being sold, who all are there who will buy the things in the country? I'm talking about everything that is produced. I'm not only talking about the good stuff or the consumption thing that we consume as such. ऐसा नहीं सिर्फ खाने पीने की बातें कर रहे हैं या मोबाइल फोन की बातें कर रहे हैं या टीवी कैमरा लैपटॉप की बातें कर रहे हैं. Everything from a needle all the way to a aeroplane. We are talking about everything. इसमें मशीनरी भी आएगी, इसमें रॉ मटेरियल भी आएगा, एज एन सीमेंट भी आएगा, स्टील भी आएगा, आयरन भी आएगा, सब कुछ आएगा, everything, right? So all these things, whatever is being produced, ये सेल भी हो रही है कहीं ना कहीं. कौन है खरीदने वाला इंडिया में? एक तो प्राइवेट एंटिटी है, प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल्स है, राइट? प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल्स और एंटिटी, बिजनेस वगैरह भी अगर कुछ खरीद रहे हैं सामान, तो जितना भी सामान बना है, कुछ सामान तो हम खरीद रहे हैं, आप और हम लोग, या कुछ कंपनीज खरीद रही हैं. Every company has to buy stuff. Let's say it's an IT company, they will have to buy computers, they will have to buy table chairs, fan, AC, सब कुछ खरीदना है ना? One is that. हमारे अलावा गवर्नमेंट भी खरीद रही है. Government is also purchasing things. अब आप IAS बनेंगे, IPS बनेंगे, IAS बनेंगे, government will have to buy car for you, government will give you a house, घर बनाने के लिए सब रॉ मटेरियल वगैरह चाहिए, government will give you air conditioner अपनी ऑफिस में, टेबल चेयर सब कुछ देगा. Government also purchases a lot of things. ये मैं एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल दिया है जो आपको समझ में आए. And then there is certain thing that will not be sold. जो फैक्ट्री वालों के पास ही रह जाती है, इन्वेंट्री के तौर पे बिका ही नहीं सामान, बहुत ज्यादा बन गया था, है ना? People did not buy things, ऐसा बहुत होता है, right? So that remains with the factory, उसको हम इन्वेंट्री बोलते हैं, जो नहीं बिका. And there will be certain items which are made in India, but they are sent outside as exports. तो कुछ exports भी होंगे. Yeah. Is there anything else left? We made, let's say, 100 units. 60 units तो private entities ने खरीद ली, 14-15 units government ने खरीद ली, तो 60 plus 14, 15 is 75. Right? Then around exports में मान लेते हैं 15 units चली गई, and that is 75 plus 15, 90. और जो 10 यूनिट बच गई, we can assume that वो नहीं सेल हुई, राइट? तो कहाँ चली गई? वो फैक्ट्री के पास रह गई एज इन्वेंटरी. इसके अलावा तो कुछ नहीं होता है. Is there anything else you can think of? No. ठीक है? So ये हमें समझना है. जो प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल से एंटिटी खरीदते हैं, इसको हम प्राइवेट फाइनल कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर बोलते हैं, PFC. इसको हम डिनोट करते हैं C से, तो वो ये है. हम जीडीपी कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं. टोटल जीडीपी, ये Y is nothing but GDP, नेशनल इनकम बोलते हैं. एक तो इंडिविजुअल ने खरीदा C, वो ये आ गया. ठीक है? आई होप दिस पार्ट इज क्लियर. गवर्नमेंट जो खरीदती है उसको हम गवर्नमेंट फाइनल कंजम्पशन एक्सपेंडिचर बोलते हैं, PFC. इसको हम डिनोट करते हैं G से, वो ये आ गया. C के बाद G आ गया. कुछ सामान जो नहीं बिका वो यहाँ रह गया, इन्वेंट्री. और जो एंटिटीज की मैंने बात करी थी, राइट, यहाँ पे कुछ हम नई फैक्ट्रीज भी सेटअप हो रही है. तो फैक्ट्रीज या एंटरप्रेन्योर्स और सामान भी खरीद रहे हैं, है ना? लोहा लकड़ी खरीद रहे हैं. सो ऑल दिस ये आ जाता है फिक्स्ड कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन. कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन बोलते हैं इसको. हम डिनोट करते हैं I से, वो ये है. ठीक है? कुछ एक्सपोर्ट्स हो रहे हैं, वो ये है X. तो चार चीजें जो जीडीपी में लग सकती हैं, ऑल द फोर थिंग्स दैट विल लीड टू जीडीपी, वो चारों ये पे आ गई, C, I और X. What is this M? So while we have exported a lot of things, there are a lot of things that we import also, है ना? iPhone हम import कर लेते हैं, हम फैंसी कार, BMW वगैरह import कर लेते हैं, फैंसी बाइक्स import कर लेते हैं, Xiaomi के फोन अब तो इंडिया में बन रहे हैं, बट कुछ इंपोर्ट भी होते हैं जो हायर एंड होते हैं, राइट? Vivo के फोन कुछ इंपोर्ट होते हैं, कुछ बनते हैं इंडिया में। तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर इंपोर्टेड आल्सो, वी कंज्यूम दैट आल्सो। तो वो जो इंपोर्ट किया है वो हम ही लोगों ने कंज्यूम किया है ज्यादातर। ऑब्वियसली तो गवर्नमेंट ने भी किया होगा, गवर्नमेंट भी मंगाती है। जैसे प्राइम मिनिस्टर की BMW है, वो पूरी क्या बोलते हैं उसको, आर्मर्ड BMW, बख्तर गाड़ी जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं, राइट? एंड रेंज रोवर्स, वो सब इंपोर्ट की होंगी। तो गवर्नमेंट ने भी कुछ इंपोर्ट किया, हमने भी कुछ इंपोर्ट करके कंज्यूम किया, और जो फैक्ट्री सेटअप हो रही है उन्होंने भी कुछ इंपोर्ट करके कंज्यूम किया। क्यों इंपोर्ट किया? बिकॉज दे वर इंपोर्टिंग सम मशीनरी एंड ऑल दैट आल्सो, राइट? So when this all happens, that means we are also adding something that we are not consuming, right? But that we are not producing. इंडिया में नहीं बन रहा है, बट हमने उसको अपने कंजम्पशन में ऐड किया। बट अगर वो इंडिया में नहीं बन रहा है, शुड दैट बी अ पार्ट ऑफ आवर जीडीपी? नहीं होना चाहिए, है ना? बट हमने कंज्यूम कर लिया, तो यहाँ काउंट हो गया, इसमें भी काउंट हो गया थोड़ा सा, इसमें भी काउंट हो गया थोड़ा सा, इसमें भी काउंट हो गया थोड़ा सा। यहाँ पे मशीनरी काउंट हो गई जो इम्पोर्ट करी है, रॉ मटेरियल मशीनरी। यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट की गाड़ियां, जो फैंसी गाड़ियां हैं और चीजें हैं वो भी, और हमने जो आईफोन खरीदे यहाँ पे हो गए। So if this is added in our GDP, that means we are also unnecessarily adding things from outside जो हमने नहीं बनाई, तो उसको हटाना चाहिए। तो ये M वो है, सब कुछ मिला के ये टोटल इंपोर्ट्स है, तो हमने हटा दिए, माइनस कर दिए M, ठीक है? टोटल करके हमने माइनस कर दिया। अब इंडिविजुअली घर जा जाके गवर्नमेंट के नॉट आस्क बॉस आपने क्या मंगाया, आपने क्या मंगाया, आपने क्या मंगाया, बट गवर्नमेंट हैज अ नेट डेटा, जितना कस्टम से इंपोर्ट के अंदर आया, तो गवर्नमेंट वो सिंपली उसको ऐड कर लेती है बॉर्डर पे जो अभी आता है सामान, और यहाँ पे एक फुल नंबर सबट्रैक्ट कर देती है, क्लियर हो जाएगा, जितना इंपोर्ट हुआ सब हटा दिया मैंने, राइट? बिकॉज़ जीडीपी इज नथिंग बट एवरीथिंग दैट इज प्रोड्यूस्ड इन एन इकोनॉमी, राइट? क्लियर होना चाहिए। तो ये चार चीजें हैं जिससे जीडीपी हम कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं। नाउ ये अगर समझ में आता है तो बस खत्म होने वाला टॉपिक, आपको सब समझ में आ जाएगा। Or if I see the latest numbers, I want to see the latest, एक फेयर आइडिया मिलेगा उससे। मैंने बोला 2019-20 में जीडीपी है, दो नंबर लेके चलेंगे, 203 लाख करोड़, 203.5 लाख, और 2021 में एक्सपेक्टेड है ये दिस विल कम डाउन टू 195 लाख करोड़। इसकी वैल्यू कितनी है, इससे हमें समझ में आएगा कि इसकी इंपॉर्टेंस कितनी है। व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ इंडिविजुअल थिंग्स इन कैलकुलेटिंग और इन मेकिंग आवर जीडीपी व्हाट इट इज। तो सी की वैल्यू अगर मैं देखूं, आउट ऑफ 203 लाख करोड़, दिस इज 123 लाख, 123.9 है। ये कम होके इस बार 115.6 होने वाली। दैट मीन जो प्राइवेट एंटिटीज कंज्यूम कर रही थी, they consumed 123.9 lakh crore का goods and services last year out of the 203 lakh crore का जो बना है सामान, right? और वो इस बार in 2020-21 due to the lockdown and everything and a lot of people losing their jobs, फैक्ट्रियां बंद हो गई, income went down, so the consumption by us people, household में खर्चे कम हो गए, बाजार नहीं जा पाए, सामान नहीं खरीद पाए, सैलरी कम हो गई तो सेविंग कर ली, क्या अननेसेसरी एक्सपेंडिचर नहीं करते, चलो आईफोन नहीं खरीदते हैं, you know, let's buy a 5,000 का शॉप, उससे काम चला लेते हैं। So things like that have happened. So ये minus 8 लाख करोड़ का कंजम्पशन में डिक्लाइन हुआ है। गवर्नमेंट ने कितना खर्चा किया? गवर्नमेंट ने खर्चा किया 22.8 लाख करोड़ का, और इस बार गवर्नमेंट ने किया है 24.6 लाख करोड़ का। अभी be with me for a minute to understand exactly where I'm getting it. And private ये इन्वेस्टमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर जिसमें नई फैक्ट्री सेटअप करी एक्सेट्रा, और इन्वेंटरी रह गई जो सामान नहीं बिका एक्स्ट्रा बनने के बाद। लास्ट ईयर दिस वाज 58 लाख करोड़ एंड दिस टाइम इट इज 52 लाख करोड़, राइट? एंड टोटल नेट एक्सपोर्ट्स इंपोर्ट की अगर मैं बात करूं, एक्सपोर्ट थे 37 लाख करोड़ के लास्ट ईयर, इस बार 35 लाख करोड़ के हैं, और इंपोर्ट जो हुए हैं पिछली बार 42 लाख करोड़ के थे, इस बार 36 लाख। obviously import भी कम होगा. Now stay with me here. The idea is if GDP is this much, 203 lakh crores. A lot of it depends on people like you and me, because when we buy things, people produce things. So, Saman, put yourself in the field of a factory owner. Why would you produce anything? You will produce something because you see demand in the market that if I make something, people will go and buy things. And it's us people that when we go out and buy things, that the all the factories in the country will make things for us. तो अगर हम खर्चा करना कम कर देंगे तो फैक्ट्री भी बनाना कम कर देंगे. सिंपल सी बात है. तो फैक्ट्री विल सी यार व्हाट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ मी मेकिंग if people are not going to buy from it. So factories will reduce production, and any plan to set up a new factory will also be put on hold, because there is no point of doing that till the time there is demand in the market. Right? So ये एक point ध्यान रखें. So out of 203 lakh crores, when we consume this much, our GDP remains at a higher level. और ये अगर मैं percentage की बात करूँ, this is approximately 57 to 60% की range में रहता है. 57% mostly रहता है. That means 60% of our GDP depends on how we as a consumer react. अगर हम सामान खरीदना बंद कर देंगे, तो GDP अपने आप कम होनी शुरू हो जाएगी. तो हम यहाँ देखते हैं कि we reduce our purchases, जिसकी वजह से GDP भी कम होगी. Right? So this is one idea. तो 60% तो डिपेंडेंसी हम लोगों के ऊपर है कंट्री की GDP बढ़ाने के लिए, है ना. इसमें गवर्नमेंट कुछ नहीं कर सकती. गवर्नमेंट कैन नॉट फोर्स अस to go and buy things in the market. अगर हमारे पास पैसे ही नहीं है तो सामान कैसे. जैसे if you remember funnily and famously Modi ji said in one of the Mann Ki Baat that every family, it was in 2018, 17, 18, every family should go to travel the country 15 times a year. अपने पूरे परिवार के साथ आप 15 बार घूमने जाइए. क्यों घूमने जाइए? So that you spend money. लोकल एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन हो जाएगा. जहाँ घूमने जाएंगे वहाँ गाइड भी होंगे, लोग दुकानें भी लगाएंगे, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. एंड इकोनॉमी it will help the economy. Yes. But can the government force people to go travel for 15 times a year? No, it can only say. है ना. हम तो तभी जाएंगे जब हमारे पास पैसा है, और भाई काम भी तो करना है. 15 बार घूमने जाएंगे तो काम तो करेंगे. ठीक है. That's the whole idea. So when we do not consume, government cannot do much. Can government do something? गवर्नमेंट कर सकता है अगर हमारे पास पैसे एक्स्ट्रा आ जाते हैं तो हम कंज्यूम करना स्टार्ट कर देंगे. तो वन वे इज या तो हमें जॉब्स दे दो, बस जॉब्स. और अगर जॉब्स नहीं दे पा रहे हो तो हमें गिव मी सम मनी इन माय पॉकेट. डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर जिसको बोलते हैं. अब मेरी जेब में पैसा आएगा एक्स्ट्रा, तो आई विल हैप्पीली गो एंड स्पेंड सम मनी. इफ आई गेट अ जॉब, इफ आई गेट अ सैलरी हाइक, आई विल हैप्पीली गो एंड स्पेंड सम मनी. बट टिल दैट टाइम दैट डजंट हैपन, सो हम स्पेंड नहीं करेंगे. तो 60% डिपेंडेंसी हमारे जीडीपी की हमारे ऊपर. तो जैसे whenever we suffer, the country's GDP also. We are suffering right now, country's GDP also. Okay. Then, as I said, if we are not spending, the companies are not going to produce things. So extra inventory नहीं होगी, नई factory setup नहीं होगी. So this is that company that was producing things. So when GDP was on a higher side, our consumption was on a higher side, the companies were also producing. New factories were being set up. 58 lakh crores worth inventory and factories were set up. But जैसे ही हमने खर्चा करना कम कर दिया, whenever we stopped, at the moment we stopped spending money, the factories also stopped producing things. कम कर दिया उन्होंने भी. तो ये 58 से 52 -6 यहाँ पे हो गया. ठीक है. तो ये कितना है? 58 of this approximately 25% है. 57% यहाँ ले लेता हूँ मैं, या 60% और 25% अगर मैं यहाँ ले लेता हूँ, तो this is approximately 83 to 85% of our GDP that is dependent on our behavior. If our behavior is pro consumption, then GDP will definitely grow. And if our behavior is pro savings, यार अभी खर्चा नहीं करना है, then GDP will definitely take a hit. And think about yourself, think about your family. What have you done in the past 1.5 years? Abhi bhi, you must see that your family is not spending extravagantly. Why? Because they know things are uncertain. पता नहीं अगले कितने महीने अभी लॉकडाउन रहेगा, दोबारा कितनी waves और आएंगी. There is a big debate going on the third wave, and if we do not vaccinate our people in time, then third wave is also going to be very harmful. तो फिर से लॉकडाउन लगने के चांसेस हो जाएंगे. So we are very uncertain about the future. Exactly क्या होने वाला. And whenever there is uncertainty, do we go out and spend? No. Save money. यार अभी बचा लो, क्या पता आगे जरूरत पड़ जाए. So this must be happening in each and every one of your houses also. You must be saving on money as well. कि future में देखेंगे यार, there may be a rainy day. Let me save money right now. तो अभी ये चल रहा है. अब इसको बढ़ाने के लिए तीसरा कौन है जो खर्चा करता है? गवर्नमेंट खर्चा करती है. गवर्नमेंट स्पेंड्स द मनी. So there is only one possibility to push the GDP up now, that either government खरीदे बहुत सारा, number one, और हम चौथी चीज क्या है, एक्सपोर्ट करें बहुत सारा. If we export also, then it is good for us. हम बना रहे हैं, एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है, तो हमारे यहाँ तो सामान बन रहा है. People will get job, people will get money, and people will start spending. Right? But be able to export as much also. Export भी 37 से 35 हो गया. Why? Because the corona pandemic is not just in India, it's across the world. So every country is facing the same issue, that the consumption is going down over there. At the same time, the supply chain disruption has happened. Ships नहीं जा रही हैं, air cargo नहीं जा रहे हैं इतने frequently जितना जाना चाहिए इंडिया से बाहर या कहीं और भी. Because of which further downturn in export is happening. तो हम export भी नहीं कर पा रहे हैं ज़्यादा. We could have come out of all this mess if we could have exported more and more. ये 37 से बढ़ा के 50 कर देते हैं. तो ये -8 और -6 जो 14 है, ये नलिफाई हो जाता. हमारी जीडीपी कम से कम ना होगी 103 है. बट वी आर नॉट एबल टू एक्सपोर्ट आल्सो. एक तो हमारे पास एक्सपोर्ट करने का इतना वो है नहीं सामान जो हम कर सके. हम आज भी छोटी मोटी चीजें एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं. राइट? वी वांट टू बिकम अ एक्सपोर्ट पावर हाउस. दैट इज व्हाई दैट मेक इन इंडिया स्कीम आई कि मेक इन इंडिया करें. But Make in India could not work very properly, so नीति आयोग came out with क्या सीधा छक्का वक्का मारने की बात मत करो. पहले गेम खेलना सीखो. तो बनाना छोड़ो, पहले असेंबल करना सीखो. So let's come out. नीति आयोग came out with something that is called assemble in India. This is how China started. यार एक्सपोर्ट ज्यादा करने पे फोकस करना है, और ये बहुत ज्यादा अपेरेंट हो गया अभी, क्योंकि अगर हम घर में नहीं सामान खरीदेंगे तो एकदम से हमारी इकोनॉमी चली जाएगी. बट अगर ये एक्सपोर्ट का नंबर हाई रहता और हमारी डिपेंडेंसी 85% घर में नहीं होती, 60% से 85%, राइट, तो हम इतना प्रॉब्लम फेस नहीं करते. हम एक्सपोर्ट करते रहते. जैसे चाइना कर रहा है एक्सपोर्ट. चाइना इज नॉट स्लोइंग डाउन एज मच एज इंडिया, बिकॉज़ चाइना इज द एक्सपोर्ट हाउस ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. अगर उसकी इंडिया अपनी डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन कम भी हो जाती है पर नहीं करता, उसको बहुत ज्यादा बहुत एक्सपोर्ट से बहुत कमाल है. इंडिया के साथ ऐसा नहीं है. हम आज भी चावल दाल एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. वी डू नॉट हैव फिनिश्ड प्रोडक्ट्स टू दैट एक्सटेंट टू एक्सपोर्ट, और हम स्लो हैं थोड़ा, है ना. दैट इज आल्सो द प्रॉब्लम. तो नीति आयोग एक्सटेंड किया, बनाना वाला छोड़ो, तो तुम्हारे बस के लिए तुम्हारे प्रोडक्ट सक्सेसफुली पास नहीं करते हैं बाहर के टेस्ट. पहले असेंबल करना सीखो. व्हेन यू असेंबल, you will also understand कि सामान कहाँ जाना है, क्या सामान जाना है. You will also understand कैसे जाना है. Supply chain something है. You will become a part of that global supply chain. Once you do that, उसके बाद बनाना शुरू करो, तब बनेगी बात. सीधा बनाना चाहते हो हर बार, और इसलिए हम हर बार फेल होते हैं. ठीक है, ये 2011 से ऐसा चल रहा है. We have not been able to successfully run a Make in India program या national manufacturing program इंडिया में होना चाहिए था, वो नहीं चल पा रहा है. इसलिए तो एक्सपोर्ट्स भी हमारे होपलेस हो गए. फिर बचती है अकेली गवर्नमेंट कि if nothing else is happening, let the government spend money and increase the GDP. Government spend 22 लाख करोड़ पहले. माइनस में कितना चल रहा है? -8, -6, -14 तो ये चल रहा है. ठीक है, और आपका ये -2 से चल रहा है. तो गवर्नमेंट अगर 22 से बढ़ा के -16 को +16 करना होगा, तो गवर्नमेंट शुड हैव स्पेंड अराउंड 38. बट गवर्नमेंट ने कितना स्पेंड किया? खाली 2 लाख एक्स्ट्रा स्पेंड किया. +2 किया, +16 करने की बजाय. और क्यों किया गवर्नमेंट ने ऐसा? बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट के पास खुद पैसा नहीं है. गवर्नमेंट डज नॉट हैव इनफ मनी ऑफ देयर ओन. दैट इज अनदर प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है, there is a doubt. I'll discuss that doubt. What is liquid market, right? So government does not have money. Government का fiscal deficit कितना ज्यादा चल रहा है. Government was borrowing 18 लाख करोड़ this year. कितना लोन लिया है गवर्नमेंट ने? अगर इतना लोन ले रही है, so how can government take additional loan? बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी, because future liability बढ़ जाती है. इतना लोन लिया है वो चुकाना भी तो पड़ेगा. आज लोगे तो फ्यूचर में चुकाना पड़ेगा. you'll have to repay in the future. इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट भी बढ़ जाता है इतना ज्यादा लोन होता है ना. so government also has to play cautious. government does not have money in its own pocket. अब रीजन ये है, जब हमने सामान नहीं खरीदा तो हमने टैक्स नहीं भरा. we did not pay the GST. तो जीएसटी भी थोड़ा कम ही रहा है, एक्सपेक्टेड से कम लास्ट ईयर। अब पिछले 6 महीने से जीएसटी over 1 lakh crore, otherwise GST came down to 85-87,000 crore, which was very low during the last year, right? So when we did not buy things, we did not pay GST, and we also did not earn. When factories did not expand, the jobs did not expand, so income नहीं बढ़ी, तो income tax भी कम दिया, तो indirect tax भी कम दिया, direct tax भी कम दिया, तो government का income और कम हो गई, तो government had to borrow even more, right? अभी के लिए सिचुएशन यही है, आइदर हम लोग खर्चा करना शुरू करें तो फैक्ट्रीज को लगेगा कि वो आगे खरीदने सामान कैन बाय, और इफ वी आर नॉट एबल टू डू, वी शुड ट्राई टू सी हाउ वी कैन एक्सपोर्ट, बट दैट कैन नॉट हैपन ओवरनाइट, एक्सपोर्ट में टाइम लगेगा समझने में गेम को। गवर्नमेंट के पास एक ऑप्शन बचता है, दैट गवर्नमेंट विल हैव टू स्पेंड एंड किक स्टार्ट द इकोनॉमी वन मोर टाइम, जीडीपी बढ़ाने के लिए। गवर्नमेंट कैसे कर सकती है खर्चा? गवर्नमेंट शुड थिंक अबाउट प्रिंटिंग मनी नाउ, क्योंकि लोन भी कितना लोगे बाजार से। There is no harm, as a lot of economists says, in such a situation, to print some money and start using it. Later you can take the money out. That is okay. थोड़ा इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा हम मानते हैं, बट अभी उसकी चिंता करने का टाइम नहीं है। ठीक है, महंगाई बढ़ रही है, थोड़ी बहुत बढ़ी है, बट आप लोगों के हाथ में पैसा दीजिए। When you give money at the hands of people, only then expansion will happen. Only then this will increase. Consumption तभी बढ़ेगा, और जैसे ही consumption बढ़ेगा, factories बननी start हो जाएंगी. So what will happen over here? When you give, let's say, the government है, give money to people. Okay, direct benefit transfer. दे दो हाथ में, दे दो concept पर helicopter money. पिछले साल से न्यूज में चल रहा है that US is actually sort of using it, not exactly using it. US कर रहा है ये, US को भी पता है, US में भी यही इक्वेशन चलती है, सब जगह यही इक्वेशन चलती है। So US is giving a lot of money towards people. US has given $1,200 per month to every household in the country for some time. Because बाकी सब बंद हो गया था, तो जनता को पैसा दिया, they started buying things. Government gave money to people, they started consuming things. When they consume, factory produce, when factory will produce, they will have to hire more workforce, profit बनाएंगी तो salary भी बढ़ाएंगी, income goes up, and when income goes up, people will have more money again, right? तो ये एक virtuous cycle बन जाएगी। When people will have more money, they will further consume more. They will further consume more. Production will further go up. Production will further go up. They will have more income. More people will have new jobs. Then further people will have more money. After a while, this cycle will automatically start running. और जो government ने पैसा दिया था, that money can be taken back through taxes or through the market. ठीक है, वो वापस कैसे लेना है वो बाद का डिस्कशन में यहाँ पे डिस्कशन। ठीक है, तो फिर गवर्नमेंट की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, फिर ये साइकिल अपने आप चल पड़ेगी, and it will be in autopilot. This is what is needed right now. ठीक है, अभी क्या हो रहा है? This is down. इसकी वजह से कंजम्पशन डाउन है, कंजम्पशन डाउन है तो प्रोडक्शन डाउन है, प्रोडक्शन डाउन है तो इनकम डाउन है, and income down, this money with people comes further down. So this is feeding to the old this thing, wrong things. Further income is down, further consumption will down, further production will down, further income will be down. Same, it will keep on going. This is happening. जब तक गवर्नमेंट बीच में नहीं आएगी, या कोई और जादू नहीं हो जाता, कोई एक्ट ऑफ गॉड नया नहीं हो जाता, कि one fine day you wake up and you will find a pile of money in your room, every household. तब तक हम इस साइकिल को ब्रेक करना थोड़ा हमारे लिए मुश्किल हो जाएगा। तो जब ये नेगेटिव साइकिल चलती है तो उसको विशियस साइकिल बोलते हैं, और विशियस साइकिल को कन्वर्ट करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट इंटरवेंशन इज रिक्वायर्ड टू मेक इट अ एंड आफ्टर अ व्हाइल गवर्नमेंट कैन चिल आराम से कि अब तो चल गई साइकिल, अब तो चलती रहेगी, है ना। धक्का देना पड़ता है थोड़ा सा शुरू, अगर आप सीख रहे हो कुछ या धीरे धीरे चल रहा है, एक बार धक्का दिया, गाड़ी खराब है, गाड़ी नहीं चल पा रही, राइट, व्हाट डू यू डू, यू पुश इट फॉर अ व्हाइल And when the engine starts, it goes on its own. This is that push from the government that is required, right? Why is not the government doing it? Because government does not have enough money. Why doesn't government print money? Because government is scared that if we print money or we borrow too much, हमारी credit rating कम हो जाएगी मार्केट में. गवर्नमेंट की क्रेडिट रेटिंग कम हो जाएगी. कुछ क्रेडिट रेटिंग एजेंसीज हैं, प्राइवेट एजेंसीज हैं, right? Moody's, S&P, they give credit rating to every country also, every government also. So if the credit rating goes down, आपकी image world में थोड़ी सी इकोनॉमिकली कम हो जाती है ना? और प्रेसिडेंट गवर्नमेंट इमेज को लेके बहुत सीरियस. और अगर क्रेडिट रेटिंग कम हो जाती है, then that will also make it difficult for foreign investment to be attracted to the country. कि लोग कहेंगे यार आपके यहाँ रेटिंग अच्छी नहीं है. I am not sure if I'll make enough money. I don't want to bring my money into your country. That is another reason. So this is what is stopping the government right now to start printing money. आज कल भी finance minister ने बोला है, do not talk about any stimulus per se. Talk about stimulus after the budget schemes have kicked in. उसके बाद देखेंगे कितने stimulus की जरूरत है नहीं. Wait and watch करते हैं. ठीक है? Government is not very keen on giving additional stimulus. तो 20 लाख करोड़ का पैकेज दिया था पिछले साल, इस साल कुछ भी नहीं दिया है. Right? You will say कि सर वो 20 लाख करोड़ दिया था. तो इसका मतलब गवर्नमेंट was actually giving money to the people. तो आत्मनिर्भर पैकेज था. $20.9 lakh crores was touted that it is 10% of GDP that we are giving. But actually में क्या हुआ? This 20.9 lakh crores में से this is not the money that government gave in the hands of people. Out of this 20.9 lakh crores, the government gave to people only 2.1 lakh crores. और वो कैसे दिया है? PM किसान स्कीम के थ्रू, मनरेगा के थ्रू, and certain other schemes के थ्रू, beekeeping, this and that, right? So 2.1 lakh crores ही cash in hand किया है, which is nothing but 1%. और वो हमने देखा भी कि 2 लाख करोड़ बढ़ गया गवर्नमेंट का एक्सपेंडिचर, more or less, है ना? So this is not directly related. I'm just telling you so that आप थोड़ा सा इसमें relate कर पाओ. So remaining 18 lakh crores are basically loan of sorts, and remaining out of this also बहुत सारी चीजें वो ऐड कर दी गवर्नमेंट ने जो ऑलरेडी पिछले एक साल से चल रही है. ठीक है? So this 18 lakh crores is nothing but a number, and out of this 18-19 lakh crores, 18 lakh crores, 8-9 lakh crores तो RBI की तरफ से लोन, सस्ते लोन देने की बात थी बैंक्स को, so that banks can give out cheaper loans to factories, so that factories can be set up, to individuals so that they can buy new things. But जब मेरी इनकम ही कम है, इंडिया में कल्चरल इश्यूज बहुत है. It is only a very small set of population which is comfortable with taking loans. Otherwise, India culture is such that from the very onset of your youth, बचपन से ही हमें सिखाया जाता है कुछ भी करना लोन मत लेना जब तक बहुत ज्यादा मजबूरी ना. People do not really go for a loan for personal consumption as such. तो भी लोन लेते हैं, generally either they go for a home loan, right? Home loan लेने के लिए कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, कोई मना नहीं फैमिली में, क्योंकि वो एक घर बना रहा है आपका एसेट डेवलप. और जिंदगी इंडिया में वो घर बनाना ही जिंदगी का सबसे बड़ा मकसद है. कि बस घर बन जाए मेरा, मेरी जिंदगी सफल. तो होम लोन इज फाइन, राइट? Any other consumption loan is only is used only by a handful of people. वो भी जो बड़ी सिटीज में आजकल है, आप लोगों ने भी शायद देखा होगा या नोटिस किया होगा, फोन लोन पे ले रहे हैं, क्रेडिट कार्ड पे लोन मिल जाता है, पर्सनल लोन मिल जाता है, बजाज फाइनेंस जो है वो लोन प्रोवाइड करता है. So a lot of this few set of people, probably 1 or 2% people are taking these kind of loans. 98% is still not taking. तो RBI कितना भी पैसा मार्केट में दे, people will not take loans for general consumption. बोलेंगे अभी जरूरत नहीं है हमें, वो सादगी भरा जीवन जीना, जब पैसा आ जाएगा हमारे पास एकदम तभी हम लोन लेंगे, अभी नहीं. तभी हम सामान खरीदेंगे, अभी नहीं. So when people are not buying loans, getting loans, factory have no reason to get the loan to set up a new factory. तो जो लोन वाला पैसा है वो किसी काम नहीं आया. क्या काम आया उसका? फैक्ट्री सेटअप करने के लिए लोगों ने लोन नहीं लिया. जो लोगों ने पहले लोन लिया होता, अगर पहले 8% पे लोन लिया होता, मान लेते हैं, let's say somebody has taken some corporate has taken 100 CR loan at 8% पहले, right? और अब इस आत्मनिर्भर पैकेज if RBI is giving a loan at 4 to 5%. So what these corporates did, they did not use a fresh loan to set up a new factory. They took a fresh loan at a cheaper interest rate, repaid the entire old loan that was at a higher interest rate. That means 100 crore पे 8% अगर interest दुनिया है तो 8 crore rupees per year लौटाने as interest only. और 100 crore पे 4% अगर interest मिलता है तो 4 crore interest लौटाना. That means I'm saving 4 crore if I do this. What did I do? I took a 100 crore loan at 4%. I closed my own loan prematurely, and now I have saved money. One part, this is done. Second part, a lot of money is taken at this 4-5% interest rate, and it is invested in different assets. Stock market में खासकर stock market इतना ऊपर क्यों जा रहा है? Because there is a lot of money flowing in the market. ये सस्ते लोन बहुत घूम रहे हैं market में, और जो बड़े investors होते हैं, they have higher risk appetite also. They understand the market also. So they are borrowing this money at this cheaper interest rate, and they are putting a lot of money in stock market, और वहाँ पे वो 10, 12, 15% returns बना रहे हैं. तो अगर 4% देना भी पड़ गया 15%, 100 crores पे I made 15%, 15 crore I made, and I have to repay 4 crore of interest to the bank. फिर भी 11 crore का फायदा है. This is happening. This is one of the reasons that stock market is going up and up, and this is not happening only in India. This is happening everywhere. US में भी ऐसा चल रहा है. So US investors also have a lot of money, and they do not have enough revenues to invest in US. वहाँ पे इतना growth नहीं चल रहा है stock market वगैरह में. So US वाले पे इंडिया लाके पैसा डाल रहे हैं. So stock market is going up and up and up. It has crossed 50,000 mark also Sensex recently. इतना सारा पैसा जो stock market में जा रहा है, इस वजह से stock market ऊपर जा रहा है. This is not a discussion again, but this is the idea over here. ठीक है? एक घंटे में ये सारी चीजें नहीं बताई जा सकती. Now the final thing, why has the slowdown started in 2016? So the Atmanirbhar package है, that was not good enough, and now it is required that government actually gets more money and give it to people. अभी recently Kotak Mahindra ने भी बोला है that if not now, when? ये article पढ़िए. This is the time when government should actually print money and not worry about anything else. Print money, spend money, give it to people, etc., etc. Make this vicious cycle a virtuous cycle, and then think about other things. Then think about wrapping things up, yeah, cleaning things up. But अभी मत सोचिए आप. अभी सोचेंगे तो problem होगी बहुत सारा. Okay, चलिए. Last point है, quickly बता देता हूँ मैं आपको. I'll just quickly make 3 short graphs. Now, so these are 3 graphs. This is CPI inflation. ये inflation की graph. This is CPI inflation. This is food inflation. तो negative territory में दिखा रहा है July 18 से Jan 19. And then there is WPI inflation, which is wholesale inflation, wholesale level inflation. The thing we have to understand here is that CPI is a basket जिसमें food items होते हैं और non-food items, right? Food items का इसमें value approximately 45% का होता है, and remaining is 55%. That would mean if food inflation is high, it will impact CPI more than anything else. If food inflation is low, it will impact CPI inflation negatively in that. WPI में on the other hand, food inflation 25% होता है और non-food remaining 25 होता है. ठीक है? So same food inflation will impact WPI less because उसमें से 25% impact है, and the same food inflation will impact CPI more because almost 50% impact, 45% is there. So now what happened? That is समझिए. there are 3-4 steps, 3-4 things. The current slowdown actually started back in 2016-17. Okay, there has been multiple blows after blows to the economy since 2016-17, and the first blow was demonetization in November 16. Okay, whatever the intent of the government be, demonetization in November 16 gave a massive blow to the consumption, right? Because all of a sudden, one night, 85% of the money was removed. November से लेके March तक people struggled big time. They did not have the money to spend, right? Because they were standing in the queues to exchange their money, and whatever money they were getting were 2,000 rupee notes. Nobody had money to break that 2,000 rupee note. अगर आपको एक bread butter लेने जाना है, you had nothing but 2,000 rupee notes, but nobody had the money to return you the money. So बहुत struggle हुआ, and it killed the consumption big time. And that the moment consumption got killed, we went into that vicious cycle of low production, low output, low income, low money. Right? सबसे पहला blow ये हो, multiplier effect. उसके बाद we were only trying to recuperate जब GST came into play in July 17. Right, 6 months later. ये 3-4 महीने तो ये चला था, March, April तक we could not recuperate only, right? And then second impact, तो demonetization हुआ, it impacted the informal economy more than formal economy. Formal economy में deduct payment में भी काम मिल जाता है, check payment में भी काम मिल जाता है. Informal economy, which is the big number in the country, more than 50% economy is informal, right? So that is completely dependent on cash. The moment cash got removed, अभी मैंने बताया था आपको नंबर that 90% of employment is in informal sector. तो जैसे ही वो cash हटा, those 90% people got impacted सबसे ज़्यादा. A lot of small factories, a lot of cottage industries got shut. ऐसा ही नहीं है कुछ करने के लिए. People lost their job, lost their money. Then GST came in. Same idea again. उसी informal sector को GST had hit hard one more time. A lot of people could not convert from informal to formal, right? In that given time, and they had to shut down. पूरा business informal चल रहा है, समझ में नहीं आया शुरू कैसे करें formal. Formal करेंगे तो बहुत सारी rate बढ़ जाएगी. In all that fear, they shut down the business again. So the informal sector got impacted one more time in 17, right? And उसके बाद जब थोड़ा बहुत improvement होने की chances हो रहे थे, फिर third impact आया. उसमें पहले अभी पहले यहाँ बात करते हैं. So what happened during this period again? Once this happened, right? At the same time, another thing was happening. The government has been very lucky. The monsoon has been very good. Monsoon has been stellar in 2016, 2017 and all that. है ना? La Nina phase चल रहा था. I hope geography आपने पढ़ी होगी. And there was bumper crop after crop. Every year we have broken records, even till today. Right? The lockdown has not impacted the agriculture sector. Every year we have broken records of our food grain output. So आज हम approximately, I think almost 300 million ton, 296 million ton food grain output पे पहुंच गए. So we have been breaking records. That means food grain output have been stellar, and inflation in food has remained low. Supply ज़्यादा है, demand कुछ भी नहीं है, लोग तो नहीं है, और कमाइयाँ कम हो गई हैं, तो खाना भी bare minimum चल रहा है काम. तो जितना चाहिए, कोई fancy खाना नहीं हो रहा है, extra purchase नहीं हो रहे, people are buying small quantities, all that. So inflation has remained extremely low in the food sector. वो यहाँ देख सकते हैं. The food inflation है negative territory में था for a very long time. For 6 months, food inflation, 6 to 8 months, food inflation was in the negative territory. That means the price that the farmer should get for its food products, they were not getting it. They were selling tomatoes at 1 rupee a kg in the market, जो मंडी होती है. Potatoes were being sold at 2 rupees a kg, so on and so forth. You must have seen a lot of pictures also where farmers threw all their tomatoes on the road and ran tractors all over it, destroyed their crop. That it's better to destroy it than to sell it at 1 rupee. So farmers were not getting their share. उनको पैसा नहीं मिल रहा था. Farmers' income were low. Majorly this period. Right? When farmer income was low, at the same time you will see that other inflation, जो non-food side, एक तो food side है, एक non-food side है. तो food side में inflation तो negative territory में है, but non-food side inflation positive territory में. CPI was around 1 or 2% के आसपास, and WPI was even higher at 5% more. Why is this gap? As I said, food का impact WPI पे कम पड़ेगा. इसने नीचे pull किया, इतना pull नहीं कर पाया क्योंकि 25% impact है. अगर ये 0 होता शायद या 2% होता शायद, this would have been at 7%. But since food inflation का impact CPI पे ज़्यादा पड़ता है, because it is almost 50%, 45%. So this was brought down a little more. So this low CPI inflation here is mainly because of food inflation, right? Negative food inflation. That would mean अगर हम WPI से compare करें, जो बाकी non-food item है, उसमें inflation ज़्यादा ही है, and rightly so because of the demonetization and GST, a lot of factories were shut. जिसकी वजह से supply की कमी हुई, supply shortage आ गई, and supply जब shortage में हुई, demand अगर थोड़ी बहुत भी रहती है, then you will see increase in prices. Recently, as I said last time, that we have seen demand बढ़ती है तो हर चीज का प्राइस कैसे बढ़ जाता है, रेमडेसिविर, ऑक्सीजन, PPE किट, सैनिटाइजर्स, मास्क, right? So non food items का inflation ज्यादा है और food items का inflation कम. That would mean farmers की एक तो income low है, farmers का income source है उससे पैसा कम आ रहा है, farmers are earning less from their income source. But when farmer have to spend to buy other things, they don't have to buy food they are producing, they have to buy other items, and those other items are more expensive. So farmers already have low income, उतना पैसा नहीं है और खर्च ज्यादा करना पड़ रहा है. So whatever income they had from rural area, limited money that they have, it moved to urban area. क्यों? क्योंकि जो फैक्ट्रीज हैं, जो बाकी चीजें प्रोड्यूस करती हैं, that is mostly in urban areas. गांव में फैक्ट्री नहीं होती है. So whatever money, little money that farmers were making because of the negative food inflation for such a long time, that was also being transferred to the urban area, urban centers जहाँ factories हैं, because they had to buy more expensive. जो भी सामान normally खरीदते वो और महंगा हो गया, non-food items, right? This is basically termed as, it was terms of trade for farmers. Their income source is low and their expenditure source is high. So adverse terms of trade for farmers, and their money was being transferred to urban centers as such. But ये already limited पैसा है, तो सबसे पहले consumption यहाँ पे कम in the rural areas. And you must have read a lot of news that the very first thing that came in, prominent thing that came in, that Parle Ji, जो 5 रुपए की बिस्किट बनाता है, चाय बिस्किट, Parle Ji decided to kick out 10,000 people, fire 10,000 people from its factory. Right? I was shocked to first of all see the news. वो छोटा सा 5 रुपए का बिस्किट बनाने के लिए 10,000 आदमी चाहिए. Also, if 10,000 people were fired, that means Parle Ji must have at least 1 lakh people as their its employee. वो भी fact था. Parle Ji threw out 10,000 people. Why? Because people were not buying that 5 rupee biscuit also. People did not have enough money in the village to buy that 5 rupee biscuit packet. Village में ज़्यादा चलता है चाय में डुबो के पीने वाला. Then Dabur and all came forward that their hair oil is not being sold because there is no money in the villages. Village में ही hair oil ज़्यादा बिकता है. You will see most of the villagers, farmers, they always have oil in their hair. So hair oil growth sale came down. The Parle Ji sale came down. The vehicle sale came down. Automobile industry alone in 2018-19 fired 3 lakh people in 3 months period. This is just the automobile industry alone. And उसके अलावा ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री के फॉरवर्ड और बैकवर्ड लिंकेजेस बहुत ज्यादा होते हैं. पीछे से रॉ मटेरियल आ रहा है, टायर की फैक्ट्री है, ब्रेक बनाने की फैक्ट्री है, शॉकर बनाने की फैक्ट्री है, so on and so forth. And forward linkages would be all the dealers who depend on these car sales. So dealers also have to shut down their shops, and the factories backward linkages also have to shut down their shops. So वहाँ अलग वो हुआ है job loss. So now this job loss started to happen. Mahindra and Mahindra, Maruti, these guys had to shut their plant for 2 weeks, 3 weeks because production was not required and was buying things in 2018-19 for the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm telling you, right? So since this started happening, जो पहले पैसा गांव में नहीं था, people did not have money in the villages. Now because of the low consumption in the villages, 70% people in the village consumption बहुत है वहाँ. आप सोचोगे villages में कितना खरीदते होंगे. So now this got transmitted to urban area also. Because of the job loss and everything, you will see that the income started to come down in the urban areas, urban sectors as well. वहाँ भी income कम होगी. Farmer income is already low, rural income is already low, and now urban income is also low. plus urban income. 2018-19 में ही शुरू हो चुका था, right? And we have seen that when these guys are not consuming, factories will not produce anything. Right? That is a problem. So this was the beginning. जिससे हम बाहर ही नहीं आ पाए. Whenever this was happening, what did the government do? Government took certain steps to try to come out of this problem. But what did the government do? Government reduced the corporate tax. Number one. Government gave cheaper loans to the companies. Number two. Government had some new ideas about depreciation and all that. जिससे companies को profit बढ़ा सकते हैं. Number three. और consumption बढ़ सकता है. कि आप अपनी गाड़ी जो भी corporate companies जो गाड़ी खरीदती हैं, we are trying to increase the depreciation in such a way कि आप 5 साल में ना बदल के instead of exchanging your car in 5 years, you can exchange it in 3 years. Take the tax benefit. So this is all fairly technical, ज़्यादा नहीं, but government took such steps. But problem क्या थी? People did not have money. And people did not have money. All the money that was being given, or all the tax cut benefit that was being given to corporates, in the hope that they will reinvest their money in factories, they will expand factories, hire people, and economy will come back. Corporate said, you have taken very good steps for us. We really appreciate that. अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं तुम्हारे लिए. We will make a lot more profit with this. But right now, we are not going to use our profit to make new factories because there is no point. क्योंकि consumption तो हो ही नहीं रहा है. Oil नहीं बिक, hair oil का छोटा सा पैकेट नहीं बिक रहा है, 5 रुपए का बिस्किट नहीं बिक रहा है, गाड़ियां नहीं बिक रही है. मैं किसके लिए बनाऊं? Why should I set up a new factory when my existing factory is shut down? वो बंद पड़ी. So corporates happily said that thank you very much for all this profit, but we are going to sit on our cash pile right now. हम इन्वेस्ट नहीं करेंगे जब तक डिमांड नहीं बढ़ेगी. तो इसका एक ही आउटगो है to come out of this. Only one solution is there, that money should be given at the hands of people now. Right? तो आपने पीएम किसान में दिया और दीजिए, villages में दीजिए. Don't give it in the city if you don't want, but give the money in the villages. They will kickstart consumption. That will give an incentive to the factories to kickstart production, and jobs will come back to the city. And when jobs come back, people will have money, they will also start. ठीक है, ये सब चल रहा है. इन सब में सिर्फ एक anomaly है. हर सारे फैक्टर्स कम हो रहे थे. ट्रैक्टर सेल कम हो गई, कार सेल कम हो गई, टू व्हीलर सेल कम हो गई. In fact, world over news were coming in that men underwear sale also came down. These are all the proxies for slowing down of economy. Right? It is a very funny thing. जैसे hair oil is a proxy for hair oil sale is a proxy for GDP growth or economic growth. Electricity consumption is a proxy for economic growth. During this period only, electricity consumption massively came down in industrial states like Gujarat and Maharashtra. Up to 18% year-on-year growth came down monthly level. क्या शो करता है industrial states में? Obviously, people are not shutting their fans and tube lights down in the houses. मालूम चल ही रहा है. ज़्यादा इंडस्ट्रियल अगर एक स्टेट है, so electricity consumption is required in the factories. That means this reflects that factories are not utilizing the energy as much. वो shut down पड़ी. So electricity consumption is also a proxy for growth. Similarly, in foreign countries, men underwear sale is also a proxy for growth, because it was researched and it was concluded that whenever economy is not doing well, men tend to use their undergarments for longer. They do not replace the undergarments quickly as they do generally. So बहुत interesting, funny चीजें भी होती हैं economics में, अगर आप देखेंगे. So all this were happening. Now factories were making FMCG companies जो ये सब तेल कंघी वगैरह बनाते हैं, soap, oil, food packets, all that. They started coming out with smaller packets. बहुत news आई थी. Because people do not have enough money to buy larger packets. 5-5 रुपए के पैकेट निकालने शुरू कर देते हैं गांव में बेचने. उससे थोड़ा बहुत प्रॉफिट बना पाए थे. All this will happen. So the reason is demonetization, GST, which led to and low food inflation. It was kept low. है ना? इसको अगर हम थोड़ा सा कंट्रोल करके फूड इन्फ्लेशन को नॉर्मलाइज कर देते तो नॉर्मल रहती चीजें, बट हमने वो नहीं किया. The government would have ordered all the food grains और वो धीरे-धीरे उसको calibrated manner में उसको रिलीज करती, तो शायद ये नेगेटिव में नहीं जा पाए. Government did not bother at that time. बाद में they had to feel the pinch. तो 2018-19 में शायद थोड़ा बहुत इंप्रूवमेंट हो जाता, बट उससे पहले ही एक IL&FS क्राइसिस हुआ, NBFC क्राइसिस हुआ. NBFC का काम है लोन देना बहुत सारा, right? When NBFC came into crisis, 2018 के एंड में। तो जो थोड़ी बहुत रिकवरी की उम्मीद थी वो भी खत्म हो बिकॉज NBFCs were not giving out loans anymore। ट्रैक्टर खरीदने के लिए लोन नहीं दिया, पैसे नहीं, घर खरीदने के लिए इंडिया बुल्स वगैरह ने लोन नहीं दिया, all of which further decline in consumption। नंबर 3, और उसके बाद तो कोविड-19 आई है। कोविड-19 लॉकडाउन ने सब कुछ बंद कर दिया। We did not think we locked down completely. Every economic activity was locked down. This is why once burnt, twice shy. This is why even though the situation was much worse this year, government was not keen on putting a lockdown because they had already felt the heat last year. क्यों लॉकडाउन नहीं किया सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने? सब लोग पीछे बैठे कि बॉस लोग मदद कर दो कर दो कर दो, बट गवर्नमेंट वाज नॉट विलिंग एट ऑल बिकॉज़ लास्ट ईयर उन्होंने देखा था कितना ज्यादा नुकसान, राइट? एंड दिस ईयर दे वर नॉट रेडी and why shy was. So these are the reasons which started the slowdown in 2016 only. Now what is the way forward from here? Government is expecting, RBI is expecting, SBI is expecting that India is going to grow at 10% next year. Right? वो expectations थी मार्च में, और मार्च में situation खराब नहीं थी। April onwards the situation got worse again. Most of the states went into lockdown, so that also will have to be revised. 2020, 122 expected growth is RBI की तरफ से 10.5%। Is this a big number or not? 2019-20 में हमारी ग्रोथ थी 103 lakh crores। 2020-21 में we are at 195 lakh crores। ठीक है। 2021-22 में हम अगर 10% ग्रो भी करेंगे तो लोअर बेस से ग्रो कर रहे हैं, so it is expected that we are going to come back only to approximately this number। so it was expected that pre-pandemic level पे हम लोग आ जाएंगे 2021-22 के end तक, right? But now since the situation has changed again and the country has witnessed almost over a month lockdown in different states, expectation is going to come down again. It should come down to somewhere around 7%, depending upon how things goes over the next 6 months now. अगर third wave भी आया था अक्टूबर में, then the Diwali season will also go very bad for the consumers, for the factory owners. तो तब ये शायद और further decline हो जाए. Then we'll be in a real difficulty. Honestly, we'll be in a very challenging phase. तब निकलना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा. अभी भी most of the economists are saying, boss, go and print money. Go and print money. You have to print money and give it to the people. Start spending so that people get job, etc., etc. अभी जो हम Central Vista project कर रहे हैं, 20,000 crores spend कर रहे हैं. Why it is a good move? Why? Because it will generate employment. There is no problem in that. करिए जो करना. But right now, the demand of the country is slightly different. I hope you all understand. Instead of spending that 20,000 crore on making this new parliament building, ये करना चाहिए. ये सब construction activity से employment बढ़ता है, कोई problem नहीं है. People will get money, people will get job, people will spend. That is a good thing. But right now, these 20,000 crores would have been spent across the country in making new hospitals, primary health center in villages. There is a massive chaos going on in villages. Every day, so many people are dying. People will still have gotten job there, right? So all these activities government has to do, but in the right place at the right time. That is the whole idea. Sometimes the government will spend at the same time, government should give money at the hands of people, and for that money, government should not borrow from us. Market से borrow करते हैं तो problem है. जितना ज़्यादा borrow करती है government market से, उतना ज़्यादा interest rate बढ़ जाता है market में बाकी लोगों के लिए. ठीक है, ये अलग discussion. ये सिर्फ एक point समझने के लिए. When interest rate goes up, people who are willing to borrow money and use for consumption purpose, they also stop. तो वो भी नहीं होगा. And market will also have limited money left. The 18 lakh crores government नहीं borrow कर दिया, तो बहुत पैसा बचेगा market में, बाकी लोगों को मिल जाएगा. That is another problem. एक ही सिर्फ exception जो पिछले 2 सालों से लोन में दिख रहा है, वो है increase in home loan and increase in education. बाकी सारे लोन negative guarantee में जा रहे हैं. I think the growth is in the negative territory. The loan last year, the banks could give, this year they could not give. In the past 2 years, in the past 3 years, they have been on the lower side. But loans have been increasing. ये भी आप शायद कहीं न्यूज़ में पढ़ेंगे इसके ऊपर, right? One is the home loan and one is the education loan. But interesting thing here is that while home loan are increasing, home loan बढ़ने का मतलब है clearly people are buying more houses. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, the unsold inventory of houses is also increasing. Home loan भी बढ़ रहे हैं, but at the same time, नए जो घर बन रहे हैं, the unsold inventory of the houses, the new houses that are being developed, they are also not being sold enough. ये anomaly क्यों है? कि एक तो home loan बढ़ रहा है, लोग क्या कर रहे हैं उस पैसे? What are people doing with that money if new houses are not being sold? So it is clear from here that people are buying existing houses from other people instead of buying a new house from developer. इसमें क्या problem है? If home loans are increasing and new houses are being sold, it would have been good for the economy. More and more construction will happen, construction jobs will be created, people will get money, and consumption can increase. ये अच्छी चीज होगी. But home loan ले रहे हैं लोग और घर भी जो बन रहे हैं वो नहीं बिक रहे. They are not being sold. So what is the problem here? That people are buying existing houses. So this consumption is not helping the economy at all. Or it is not adding to the job in construction. पुराने घर खरीद रहे हैं और क्यों खरीद रहे हैं? इतने स्लो डाउन में घर खरीदने की क्या आग है? Why are we buying so many houses in India? First of all, we have this culture. घर तो बनाना ही है, जिंदगी छत होनी चाहिए, है ना? क्या बोलते हैं सब लोग कि बेटा कुछ मत करो, छत होनी चाहिए. People buy their houses with the first job, home loan ले लेते हैं और जिंदगी भर फिर लोन ही चुकाते रहते हैं for the next 30 years or so. Yeah, there's a very famous saying: if you don't like your job, get married. Yeah, अच्छे लगने की नौकरी आपको अपनी. You will start going to your job, and if you don't like your job, get a home loan. क्योंकि फिर तो जिंदगी में बाहर फंस गए आप. 30 years तक you have to repay the money, so there is no way you can quit your job. First you get married, you will not quit your job. घर में कैसे रहोगे पूरे टाइम? If you will find funny things only. Right? Don't take it seriously. Then if you still don't like your job, then get a home loan. क्योंकि जिंदगी भर repay करना है. Then you cannot afford to lose a job, right? So home loan ये जो बढ़ रहे हैं, this is not helping. Second is education loan are going up. Again, education loan भी you will go and study. Reason being, क्यों पढ़ रहे हो आप? A lot of people decided कि यार jobs तो मिलने भी अच्छी. My income is not as good, so I will not lose out on much if I do not work for this 1 year. Let me utilize this 1 year to increase my skill set. And a lot of people are going for MBAs and other kind of courses for which loan is also increased. So this is also showing exactly that people do not have jobs, they are preferring to study more than working right now. तो ये भी एक सिचुएशन को ही शो करता है. हर चीज कनेक्टेड है. Everything can be a reflection on something else. अगर आप थोड़ा सोचने लगेंगे ऐसे, you will be very interested. Now, today in the evening, a lot of news will come out. Tomorrow, a lot of news will come out. I hope you to understand those articles. If not, you can always connect with us. I will be happy to explain things to you. And read some more articles. What has happened in the past 2-3 years, you'll be able to connect the dots now. आपकी understanding बहुत improve हो जाएगी. This is just an overview. क्योंकि 1 घंटे का session था. This overall is developed in 4-5 classes जो हम समझाते हैं अच्छे से. And if you come to us at AQ, we are going to explain each and every aspect, and you will be able to decipher all this on your own now. We will make you equipped to that extent. That is a guarantee from us. So this was the India's growth scenario. India's growth is going down since 2016-17, and it has been consistently going down. And the COVID-19 pandemic has only added to that. The hope for improvement this year is also dim now because of the second wave that is ongoing right now, and the expected third wave that might hit us in October and November. Okay? That happens, the only way out for the government to, of this economic mess would be to print money and to spend as much as possible, because we cannot develop our export potential so much in a very short span of time. Until the time domestic consumption is picked up, which will not happen till the time people have money, right? The economic growth will not rebound. So it is only up to the government now that they print more than more cash for some time and not worry about the repercussions in the short term at least, not worry about the credit rating agencies. In fact, the economic survey this year said they actually emphasize that whatever credit rating agencies are giving ratings to India, they are not in line with our financials. So we do not really believe in those credit ratings. But still we are not doing what is required because of that fear only. Credit rating or negative चली जाएगी. So government should not worry about all this. All the economists and industrialists are saying the same. That will be the only way out of this economic mess that we are in. And if it prolongs further, then we are in for a real difficulty. In fact, मैं बाकी सारे examples क्या बताऊँ? Coaching industry का example अगर बताता हूँ आपको. A lot of people, since they did not get jobs out of their college, a lot of people are coming to different coaching institutes. So education is one thing that never goes down. In fact, when times are bad, education goes up. जैसे alcohol भी होता है, liquor business. Whenever liquor business never goes down. Time खराब होता है, तो दुख में भी थे. Time अच्छा होता है, तो खुशी में भी थे, है ना? But education industry is one that when times are bad, economic times are bad, people come to the coaching industry or people come to different colleges to improve their skills so that once the economy comes out of the slowdown shackles, we will be better equipped to get a decent job. So that's about it for today. This is me, ANUPAM Jain, for Indian Economy at TQIS. Thank you very much and have a nice day.